Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm doing a video, kind of the end of the year list of things that I've seen and listened to. First of all, you notice that I have a little different setup. My sister bought me a ring light, 12-inch ring light for Christmas, so I'm using this for the first time. Of course, the light's supposed to light up my face and everything a little bit better than it was, and so it's a little bit different angle here where I have my computer in my desk in the basement where I do my videos and stuff. So thank you a lot to my sister, older sister Abby, for buying this for me. I appreciate it. Hopefully it's a better setup than it was before. But yeah, now we're getting to the end of 2021. I believe it's December 30th today, so I believe Saturday's the new year. Get to 2022. And I like to watch movies and TV shows, and I don't listen to as much music, so I don't think music is as good anymore. But every once in a while I try to, if there's an artist that I like and they come out with a new CD, I'll listen to it on Spotify. But of course, I haven't watched enough movies to make a top 10 list. I enjoy watching top 10 list movies. I would love to make a top 10 list movies. I just don't watch enough movies to make top 10 lists. And movies, I don't know. I haven't liked movies as much. It seems like every year I like less and less movies. I don't know. So it's hard to make a really good top 10 lists anymore for me. And I haven't been to movie theater since I think March of 2020. So it's been over a year and a half that I haven't gone to movie theater to see a new movie. All the stuff I see is on streaming channels. Mostly I've got Disney. Personally, I got Disney Plus and I got HBO Max. I've had Disney Plus for about a year, HBO Max for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But my wife has Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, and so I've got those 5 streaming channels I can watch. Though I would say Disney Plus is probably the streaming channel I watch the most. I watch about anything new that comes on there. So a lot of my viewings on Disney Plus. But I do watch new stuff on HBO Max that eventually comes out into that streaming channel, which I believe they do Warner Brothers movies, and of course they have their original programming, and all that. I'm behind on Netflix. I haven't been really keeping up with Netflix stuff lately. Just so many streaming channels. It's hard to keep up with everything. Obviously, Squid Games is the big show that came out this last year. I haven't watched that yet. I wasn't sure if I want to watch it, but maybe I'll eventually watch that to see what the big buzz was. And then there's some like Oscar movies that are out right now, like Power of the Dog, Tick Tick Boom, and Looking Up or something like that. I haven't seen those movies yet. Eventually, I'll probably catch on to some of those more Oscar buzz movies. Amazon Prime, I don't really watch a whole lot either. I look at it every once in a while to see what's on there. I know there's a TV show Wheel of Time that came out, which I was pretty disappointed with. I was looking forward to that one. It didn't do very good, I think. Being the Ricardos is, I think, the big Oscar buzz movie on there. I haven't watched yet. Just a little bit of that one. Then Hulu, the big thing is I watched Only Murders in the Building. I believe it's a Hulu, which is a pretty decent show. I haven't finished that one yet. That's one that's been pretty good, though, so far. But besides that, I haven't watched a whole lot of new Hulu stuff. Anyway, so my list mostly is going to be from Disney Plus and HBO Max, probably, amongst other things. So my list is a top 10 favorite things of 2021, which can be movies, TV shows, or music that I've listened to on one of the streaming channels. Like I said, everything I've watched is on streaming channels or I listen to on Spotify. So, but here are the 10 things I watched this last decade personally that I recommend or that I really enjoyed. Number 10 is going to be the Get Back documentary on Disney Plus, following the Beatles making the Let It Be album. They're basically second to last album, but last one released. And of course, they made a documentary back in 1970, the Let It Be documentary that showed a lot of this footage of them making a new album and then performing on the rooftop there at the studio. Anyways, was a big deal. And so this goes back and, of course, gives us about 8 hours of new footage, basically, following what happened. Of course, like George Harrison kind of quits the band for a second at their Twickenham Studios, and then they go to the Capitol or EMI Studios and finish the album there, and then they do the whole rooftop concert at the end. So we kind of see how all the the setbacks of making that album, and we're seeing the end of the Beatles itself. Like you can see, the Beatles are definitely winding down as a group at this point. So yeah, it's definitely a huge undertaking. I mean, anytime you do anything with the Beatles, it's gonna be huge. I watch anything with the Beatles in it. Beatles are my favorite band. Love the Beatles. So I was really looking forward to this documentary. It definitely gave you a lot of interesting insights into the band, I think, and the personalities, and in the whole flow of what happened in those like 3 weeks that they made the album. I'd say I'm putting it at number 10. It would be higher if it was a shorter movie. If it wasn't the 8 hour, three sections combining for 8 hours. If it was just like a 2 hour movie or 2.5 hour movie documentary, it'd probably be number one on my list. But because it was 8 hours and it was just a lot of footage that kind of dragged on. I mean, after the 20th time of hearing "Get Back" being played, you get kind of tired of the song. So that part I didn't care for so much. I enjoyed the camaraderie of the Beatles together and George Martin and Glenn Johns and Matt Evans and all the other important figures in Beatle history. I did enjoy some of that, and seeing them kind of starting off a song and then seeing the finishing product. But we didn't really get that many songs that they really could finish. Only about maybe 5 songs. And some of the better songs they didn't really cover that much in the documentary. But still, it's so cool to see another documentary on the Beatles, something new. It feels like we've seen everything about the Beatles, and to get something new that we haven't seen before is always really cool. So I had to put it in my top 10. Number 9, I'm putting actually a CD or album that came out this last year from John Mayer called Sob Rock, which I just listened to recently. I didn't realize he came out with an album until recently. I heard that he came out with this album, and I've been a huge John Mayer fan since the early 2000s with Room for Squares and Continuum are some really good albums of his. And a big fan of John Mayer. I love his songwriting, his acoustic guitar playing, and his vocals. Just one of the best singer-songwriters out there that I really enjoy. Though a lot of his albums I haven't enjoyed quite as much as those two I mentioned, but I'm always interested in hearing more from him and seeing what he can do, if he can get back to some of my favorite style, like from Room for Squares, which had just one great hit after another. So this one, Sob Rock, I really enjoyed this album. Like I said, I've only listened to it about 1 or 2 times, so I need to listen to some more. But it's good enough that I put on number 9. I thought every song sounded pretty good, and it reminded me more of some of his earlier work, Room for Squares. I mean, he's a really good guitar player, and he tends to play when he plays electric, he plays more bluesy style, which I'm not a fan of the bluesy style guitar playing necessarily, though he's really good at it. So some of his albums like that I haven't really enjoyed. I enjoy him more when he's playing the acoustic guitar and playing more softer songs. I want to call it like indie folk type style, I don't know, or pop folk style. I really enjoy it. So a lot of these songs fit that more acoustic guitar, pop folk style music that I really enjoy. Anyway, so I thought it was a really good return album for him. Definitely one I want to listen to some more. Number 8 is actually the only movie I have on my list. I really haven't seen that many movies that I've enjoyed. The one I like the most really is a movie called The Tomorrow War. It came on Amazon Prime this last year, starring Chris Pratt. It's a sci-fi movie with aliens trying to destroy or kill all human beings. And it's a time travel. Chris Pratt's character has to travel to the future to fight these aliens. And then when he comes back, he's trying to figure out how to stop the aliens before they begin. And so it's very interesting, the whole storyline of trying to stop this alien invasion and where did they start. And the characters were great. Chris Pratt's always great. I love Chris Pratt. It's got some good action in there. I thought the CGI was decent for a show. The aliens look pretty scary. and there's some good comedic relief characters in there that I really like, and I kind of enjoyed how it ended, how they figured out where the aliens came from and what their purpose was. I thought that was actually a pretty good twist at the end, what was going on with that and how they figured it out. Anyways, and then it also deals a little bit with the family dynamic and relationship between him and his daughter. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really enjoyable movie. I think maybe the best thing I've seen this year. Like I said, like I've seen like everything on Disney Plus. I enjoy watching like Star Wars and the Marvel movies, and of course Disney animation and Pixar. I've been somewhat disappointed this year with movies. I will say I saw Encanto this last week, and I thought that was pretty good. I didn't put it on my top 10, though. I would say that was pretty close to making my top 10. Pretty decent animation movie, really good animation, good songs, and all that. Didn't quite hit me emotionally enough to put it in my top 10. It wasn't quite as good as some of the best animated movies I've seen. That's probably the best thing I've seen on Disney Plus as far as movies. I think Black Widow was okay. Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings was okay movies, but then I'm kind of tired of superhero movies somewhat because there's been so many lately that it didn't hit me quite enough to put it in my top 10. They're just okay. Of course, the Eternals and Spider-Man Far From Home have come out in theaters, but I haven't gone to theaters, so I'm waiting for those to come on Disney Plus, and I'll watch those. But yeah, I haven't seen too many great movies, I feel like, this year, personally. So that's why Tomorrow War is probably the best movie I've seen. Number 7, I have a documentary on HBO Max called What Happened, Brittany Murphy, which is interesting because Brittany Murphy was, of course, an actress back in the 90s, 2000s. Good-looking, blonde actress. Did a lot of romantic comedies, and but she also did some dramas. And not a big named actress, but she was definitely someone who could be the romantic lead, like I said, in a movie. And she starred in some movies, and so she definitely had a rising star, I think, and definitely was going to be in more movies, and could have had a really good career. I don't know how old she was, but unfortunately she died in the 2000s, I believe. And I remember when it happened, and I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were. Just remember it was like a real surprise because how young she was. She just died in her home. I forget what exactly it was that she died of, but I think it was somewhat natural causes. Anyways, and so this documentary on HBO Max kind of covers her career, of course, how she got into the movie business and kind of her rising star. The big one was Clueless. She was in, and then like I said, she's done numerous romantic comedies and so forth. And she's not one that I really paid a lot of attention to, but I remember her kind of seeing her on trailers of being in movies, and I remember she hosted Saturday Night Live one time, and so that's my memory of her. So I wasn't sure this documentary came out, and I always like a good documentary, but I was like, Brittany Murphy, what would that be an interesting subject matter? But it turned out to be a really interesting story that her upbringing and getting into Hollywood, and just being this like firecracker of a energetic, very nice, very great smile. Just everybody liked her, and so I liked the interviews with all these people that have known her, and definitely was this very good vibe about Brittany Murphy. And we get into after Clueless, she got a lot of criticism for like not being skinny enough, which is unfortunate because she wasn't fat. She was, she was fine looking the way she was, but in Hollywood they really want women to be real skinny. Is kind of a real pressure, and so we see her go from like a normal weight to being very skinny. And her roles kind of went up when she got real skinny, of course, and she got all these romantic comedy roles. And so it's kind of somewhat sad to see that happen, that she felt so pressured to have to really lose a lot of weight. And then the most interesting part, of course, is that her death. And before that, she got married to this guy, which I don't have the information in front of me, but he was kind of a loser. He was a middle-aged, overweight kind of loser guy, but he was like a con man, and somehow conned her into like getting married because she wanted to get married real bad, it sounded like, and she had some relationships with like Ashton Kutcher, I believe, was a boyfriend, and that they broke up, and it sounded like she had some bad breakups, and she was really looking to get married. And so this guy came along, and somehow he was involved in Hollywood. I think he directed a movie or produced a movie that was like just a total bomb of movie. Not a movie that you would ever see. It's like such a low budget, like maybe made for TV movie that did terrible. But he would lie. He was just an extreme liar. I think he came from another country, and he was just I guess somehow he's a good smooth talker. And somehow he romanced her. They got married, and it was always an odd thing. And everybody thought it was odd that she married this guy. And then he was totally controlling of her life, and we see that he was a terrible husband, and not exactly, I don't know if he's abusive, maybe a little emotionally abusive. Definitely, had to drive her everywhere, wouldn't let her do stuff by herself without him knowing, had control over everything in the house. I don't know. He controlled every aspect of her life, it seemed like, and so it was really bad. And everybody, if anything, this movie really makes him look really bad. In fact, they thought maybe he murdered her, and so there's a lot of conspiracies that he, secretly like murdered her and all this, and a lot of people believe that. And then he died a couple months, I think, after she died. He died in the same house of like the same ailment or something. So it was a very strange, mysterious way that they both died. So yeah, anyway, so I'm talking about this movie because this documentary because I found it very, very fascinating. It was way better than I was expecting it to be. Really enjoyed watching this one. So if you have HBO Max, I really recommend What Happened, Brittany Murphy. Number 6 on my list, I think I'll stop it on this video and then do my top 5 in the next one. So it'll be the last one on my list. And my last one on my list is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a TV show that did its last season this last year. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine, about this police force, of course, in Brooklyn. And now I'm forgetting all the names, but Andy Samberg is kind of the star of this show, coming out of Saturday Night Live. He's done a lot of different projects. And starting at this this comedy, of course, sitcom taking place in this precinct, and he's a detective and follows all these other detectives and these really funny, creative characters, and as they solve crimes. And it's one of the funniest shows. I mean, I would say like a top 5 favorite, maybe sitcom of all time. Absolutely hilarious show. The characters are so funny. I mean, they've done such a great job of creating these funny characters. My favorite probably is the Captain Holt, by Andre Brogner, I believe his name is, Bogner. That actor is absolutely hilarious. He plays everything so straight. Yeah, it's so hilarious the way every line that he says is just absolutely hilarious. Somehow, I don't know how he does it. He just finds the comedy in all the lines, even though they're so kind of overly serious kind of character. And the dynamic between him and Andy Samberg, who's real goofy, works really well. But all the characters are absolutely hilarious. I love Terry, kind of the second in command. Huge guy, huge muscles, but has such great comic chops and can do so many funny things. Yeah, it's been one of the best shows of all time, in my opinion. Loved every season, pretty much. This last season, maybe its weakest season, wasn't quite as funny as maybe the other seasons, and it seemed like it took a while, of course, because of the pandemic to come out the season. And then it came across a really, I don't know what you call it, something that had to overcome, and probably the reason why it's come to the last season, because it takes place with cops, and there's been a very anti-cop movement in Hollywood because of what's been happening with the riots, and a lot of attacks on cops for being racist and stuff like that. So cops have not looked very good in the last 2 years, along with the pandemic. We've had that happen. And so a lot of cop shows have been shut down. Like the show Cops was shut down, I think, or Life PD, which was a show my wife and I watched. They had to shut that down because they don't want any show right now to really make cops look good, I think, is the issue. So that's the issue when you have a sitcom revolving around cops that are likable and are funny. And so I think they definitely thought, well, we need to finish this show out. I'm glad they did a last season, kind of closure to all the characters and all that. So it's unfortunate, but I mean the show lasted, I don't know, maybe 7 seasons. So it lasted long enough and had so many great moments that it was okay for me that it ended. You know, sitcoms can't go on forever, or any show, unless you're like Grey's Anatomy or something that goes on forever. Um, but yeah, so it was, you know, I'm always sad when I see a good show like this end. It's only sitcom I've really watched lately. I don't know. It's harder and harder to find a good show, it seems like. Um, and so it's always sad when a really good show ends like this. And so I had to put it in my top 10. I put number 6 here just because I wanted to show a lot of respect to that TV show. Even though, like I said, this last season had its troubles because it had to deal with the whole political issue of the cop shootings. And they dealt with that in the show, which was odd because it's a sitcom, yet they dealt with some very serious subjects like all the racism and stuff like that, which I don't like. I wish they just settle. They would just focus on the comedy and not on politics. But so unfortunately, it's probably a good thing it's ending because if it would have gone any longer, it probably would have gotten worse because of the politics would made it a little more harder to watch. But still, they ended on a good note. I think the finale was great. Closed, you know, all the characters got to say goodbye to each other, which is always sad because they're saying goodbye to them too. But anyway, but I had to recommend that because I watched and you can watch this on Hulu. I watched the show on Hulu. I'm not sure if it's an NBC show. I don't remember exactly. But I watched all the seasons actually this last year on Hulu before I watched the last season, and yeah, just watching it from beginning to end, just a phenomenally funny show. Some of the best characters I've ever seen. Anyway, so yeah, so that's Brooklyn Nine-Nine at number 6 on my list. So that's 10 through 6, and I'll do a 5 through 1, and hopefully this setup works out a lot better than I did before. And I also want to shout out, parents got me this Chiefs shirt. If you don't know, it's a football cleat, Kansas City Chiefs, my favorite team. So anyway, so thank you for watching this video and for liking and subscribing, and have a happy new year, and hope to see you again next year.